A crucial diplomatic push is underway in Islamabad, one that could shape the next phase of US-Iran engagement. The US Vice President JD Vance held a closed-door bilateral meeting with Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, a meeting that included key figures from both sides. The American delegation featured Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, while Pakistan was presented by Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar and Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi. Now, according to reports, Islamabad is actively trying to bring the United States and Iran to the same table for direct talks, with Pakistan playing the role of facilitator. The plan is sequential. First, the Iranian delegation will meet Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, followed by the US delegation. After these separate meetings, both sides are expected to move into negotiations scheduled to begin shortly. If trust can be established, these talks could become direct, a significant breakthrough. If not, they will remain indirect and limited to just one day. Iran stated that a deal with the US is only possible if negotiators prioritize an America-first approach rather than an Israel-first agenda, warning that the latter would lead to continued Iranian defense and higher global costs. Pakistan has made it clear it wants to position itself as a key mediator in the region, hoping this initiative can lead to sustainable peace and elevate its diplomatic standing. Well, there are several dynamics to these talks. Whether they'll be direct or indirect, that's a question that still lingers as both sides meet in Islamabad. The Vice President of the United States is already there. The Speaker of Iran's Parliament, Ghalibaf, is already there. The Foreign Minister of Iran, Araghchi, is already there. My colleague Saleh is in the newsroom. Maybe, Saleh, you can tell our viewers what to expect in the next few hours or so.
Indeed, correct, Eric. Lot is riding with respect to what is, of course, likely to happen in the course of these negotiations. Remember, the Americans and the Iranians are no strangers to negotiations. They have been negotiating, at least in the last 9-10 months. This is, in fact, the third round of negotiations that they are getting involved in. And this is a negotiation after the Americans and the Iranians have fought a 5+ week-long war. Now, what is, of course, expected to come out of it is pretty uncertain at this moment, because from the outset, let's make it clear, the Iranians and the Americans are starting from completely different positions. The Iranians have got a 10-point plan. The Americans have a 15-point proposal. Donald Trump, when he posted that social media post which said that there's going to be a 14-day ceasefire, it said that the Iranian 10-point plan will be the basis for the negotiations. And once there was a lot of criticism the Trump administration faced for having effectively said that in that post that announced the ceasefire, Donald Trump's team then went back and started backpedaling on it, saying that the 10 points that the Iranians had put were different from what was given to the Americans to be the basis for negotiations. It's also important to point out that the Americans themselves have not put out what 10 points the Iranians had put forth to be the basis of the negotiations. Because remember, the crux of what has happened here are 3-4 very crucial things. Now, the Americans and the Israelis started this war on Iran with the hope to try and denuclearize Iran. But in the course of the last 5+ weeks of fighting, what Iran has done is that it has wrested effective control of the Strait of Hormuz. So for the American and the Israeli position, the goalpost has effectively shifted. They went in to try and denuclearize Iran to bring about regime change. That has not happened. But Iran, that was not in control of the Strait of Hormuz, now sits in effective control of the Strait of Hormuz. Can there be a point of congruence is difficult to predict. But these are going to be negotiations that are going to be pretty hard. Now, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and JD Vance is also a very interesting team of negotiators that the Americans have sent. JD Vance had been sitting behind the scenes so far during the Iran war. But Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are no strangers to the Iranian negotiations. They've done it before, and it now remains to be seen as to what comes of this.
Saleh, also something that is very interesting is the focus on the third party in this line, and that third party is Pakistan. Many people are asking why Islamabad, why Pakistan. Maybe very quickly you can tell our viewers why Pakistan, or what is it in it for Pakistan at this juncture?
All right, now Pakistan is on cloud number 9 because it is now emerged as a key negotiator and a mediator and also the venue for these peace negotiations between the United States and Iran. Now remember, the Pakistani position has always been this. If you look at Shehbaz Sharif and his interactions with Donald Trump, he's someone who's trying to curry favor with the Americans. And it's not a surprise that the Americans would have chosen the Pakistanis to try and mediate these talks, because the Pakistanis are very amenable to the American position, and they also have some very good relations with the Iranians. So the Pakistanis can talk to both Tehran and to Washington, and it now remains to be seen as to how these talks unfold. But yes, you brought out that point. The Pakistanis at this moment are on cloud 9, that it is in Islamabad these negotiations are happening, but there is no guarantee that these negotiations can end in a success.
We have several hours to wait and see if these talks will turn out to be direct talks, whether there will be indirect talks, or whether there will be a handshake between the United States and Iran. Mohammed Saleh, thank you.